schedule just ahead. Next, our focus is the war in the Persian Gulf. We'll bring you today's Allied military briefings from Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, as well as remarks on the war by President Bush. We'll follow that with remarks on the war by Senate Majority Leader George Mitchell and Speaker of the House Thomas Foley. Then at 10:25 p.m. Eastern Time, it's a discussion on the Soviet role in the Gulf crisis. We'll bring you an Overseas Writers Club speech by Soviet Embassy official Vyacheslav Matusov. We'll follow that with a Monday session from the British House of Commons, focusing on Britain's role in the war. Then at 12:35 a.m. Eastern Time, we'll re-air some of our Persian Gulf programming as we bring you Monday's U.S. military briefing, congressional reaction to the war, and remarks by President Bush. After that, it's a U.S. Catholic Conference discussion entitled Pastoral Challenges and Moral Questions in Times of War. The group met today in the nation's capital. Then at 2:15 a.m. Eastern Time, it's remarks by the Canadian Ambassador to the United States, Derek Burney. He spoke today to the 31st Annual Washington Conference of the American Legion. Following that, we continue our coverage from the American Legion Conference with a roundtable discussion on defense manpower and Operation Desert Storm. At 6 a.m., we re-air the remarks by Soviet official Vyacheslav Matusov, followed by the U.S. Catholic Conference discussion on the moral questions in times of war. Finally, at 8 a.m., it's a live viewer call-in focusing on various aspects of the Gulf War. Our guest at 8 o'clock will be Democratic Congressman Jim Chapman of Texas. And that's a look at our overnight schedule here on C-SPAN. Thank you for watching.
The Public Affairs Video Archives at Purdue University was created in 1987 to preserve and distribute all programming from the C-SPAN networks. This important video record of national and international public affairs is available exclusively to teachers, students, educational institutions, and public libraries. With more than 55,000 hours of programs in its catalog, the Archives provides a unique service to the academic community at the lowest possible cost.
C-SPAN is a proud member of Cable in the Classroom.
The announcement of the Saturday session I will postpone, but to give some advance warning to members that it might take place. The exact character of these resolutions, I think, has to be determined by the Rules Committee, and I would hope...
Closed captioning of the United States House of Representatives, live and gavel to gavel.
Saturday, we'll have complete coverage of the Senate Judiciary Committee's confirmation hearings on the nomination of Bob Martinez to be Director of the Office of National Drug Control Policy. Martinez, who is the former governor of Florida, was nominated to the post by the President in November and would be the second person to hold the position. Saturday, beginning at 1 p.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific Time. Up next, it's the first in a series of Allied military briefings held today in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, the site of the Allied Central Command. Next, it's a briefing held by the Joint Forces Commander Khalid bin Sultan of the Saudi Arabian military. He's joined by Colonel Ahmed al-Rubayan of the Saudi Arabian Army. This briefing was recorded at 8 a.m. Eastern Time today, which was 4 p.m. local time in Saudi Arabia.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's my privilege this afternoon to introduce the Commander of Joint Forces in the theater of operation, His Royal Highness General Khalid bin Sultan. General Khalid will have a statement and answer questions in English, following the English language briefing, and after a short pause, he will brief members of the Arabic language media. Ladies and gentlemen, General Khalid.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. We are in the second day of the Desert Storm ground war. The battle is going extremely well. Just how well, I would not say precisely, because we do not wish to appear overconfident. I always believe in planning for the worst situation until we have freed Kuwait. Without going into details, I can tell you joint forces have fought with great courage and skill. We have retaken as much of Kuwait at this point as our planning called for. To me, any casualty is one too many. But the fact that coalition casualties after nearly 2 days remained remarkably light, joint forces have lost 5 killed in action, 20 wounded in action. Many Iraqi soldiers have surrendered to us. We will treat them in accordance with our high Islamic and Arabic standards and the Geneva Convention. We have now about 20,000 Iraqi prisoners of war in our care or en route. Many Iraqi units we faced until now will not be fighting another day. They are casualties or prisoners of war. For the benefit of innocent civilians, the coalition has deliberately tied its own hands with what I call the golden rule of Desert Storm. The golden rule is to avoid, if we possibly can, any harm to Iraq's innocent people. This is in clear contrast to Saddam killing of innocent civilians, including thousands of Kuwaitis who have been tortured and murdered. This war need never have occurred. King Fahd, President Bush, President Mubarak, President Assad, and nearly all other world leaders appealed to Saddam repeatedly to abide by the United Nations resolutions. Instead, he began to systematically destroy Kuwait and murdered its own people. From here, I would like to say we warn all who have taken part in the many crimes against innocent civilians in Kuwait, whether by rape, murdered, or tortured, that they will be held responsible before an international court of justice and will be treated as criminals of war. Before I take questions, I want to close my remarks by thanking all of the 33 countries that are participating in this historic coalition. I also thank the brave fighting soldiers who are here and their parents, spouses, and families for joining our coalition effort to liberate Kuwait. Now I'll be pleased to answer your question.
General, varying reports about Allied forces on the outskirts of Kuwait City. Can you give us some indication about the deployment of forces around Kuwait and whether you expect to maybe have the Kuwait City in Allied control within the next day or two?
I don't want to say anything to help Saddam Hussein to know what we are going to do tomorrow, but I can tell you that we are doing fine. The battle is conducting according to plan. As a matter of fact, we are doing better than we planned.
General,
You said that those responsible will face an international court of justice. Does that mean that you will continue to fight until you have Saddam Hussein? How will you, or that any peace must require Saddam Hussein to be handed over for trial?
No, sir. Saddam Hussein, his own people, his own nation can deal with him. I'm talking about the people in the city of Kuwait. I'm talking about the people who are murdering children, and they are doing horrible things right now.
General, can you tell us, is there any sign of any sort of Iraqi counterattack at the moment, possibly from the Republican Guard? We had reports of tanks moving south, the Iraqi tanks.
Well, I can tell you one thing, there's lots of maneuvers over there. Maneuvers, yeah.
Are those tanks?
No, I'm talking about there is maneuvers, whether it's friendly or enemy forces, but I'm not going to elaborate on that.
Your Royal Highness, first of all, I'd like to congratulate you and all the Allied forces on the success so far achieved. I have two questions. You're welcome. Which troops moved in first in the KTO? And my second question,
Sorry,
which troops moved in first in the Kuwaiti theater of operation? And my second question, you just warned the war criminals. Can you give us some examples of the war crimes that the Iraqi regime has been committing?
Well, to answer your first question, they all moved, whether it's in the same time or there's certain timing between them, I cannot elaborate on that. But they all moved, and they are all inside Kuwait. For your other question, examples, there is horrible things going on. I hate to say it, but there is killing people by axes, hitting both heads. They rape females, cut them, certain parts of them, and hang them in every street. There is, unfortunately, they even try to force their own Iraqi very young soldiers to kill another Kuwaiti children, those type of things, which is, if I elaborate on it, it's so horrible.
Is it still going on right now?
We hope to stop it so soon.
General, you talked about Allied casualties. What can you tell us now about Iraqi casualties in terms of, as a result of ground fighting, or what you may now have learned happened as a result of the air campaign?
Well, I don't have precise numbers, but there is, I'm sure there's lots of casualties there, but I cannot really give you specific numbers because I just don't have it right now.
General?
You are telling us that the campaign is going very well. I know you can't tell us how long you expect it to last, but would it be wrong for us then to assume that it will be a short campaign given the success that you're reporting to us today?
One of our planning that we hope it will be short, decisive, and swift.
General, yesterday we were told that resistance on the part of the Iraqis was very light. How would you describe the resistance today?
Well, as you know, when you enter the first day, element of surprise has tremendous effort to make less resistance. Now we are talking about other more better trained forces, but we, as I said before, we have to plan for the worst. I believe that we might have more resistance today and tomorrow, but this is all planned for.
Many soldiers are quoted as saying that they are surprised by the limited amount of resistance they have run into so far. Could you, speaking only about what's happened so far, not telling us about plans in the future, say whether that's because the Allies have been moving around pockets of resistance or simply because the Iraqi military has been overrated? It really wasn't as much of a threat, military threat, as it was originally thought.
I think all what you said, you can say it's right, because but there's one main element that, you know, we can see the number, based on the numbers of prisoners of war, that they really don't believe in their fight. I'm not underestimating the Iraqi soldiers' ability and professionalism in fighting. As a matter of fact, they are good, but there is one thing they are lacking, which they don't believe in what they are fighting for right now.
Sorry. There have been some indications that this tremendous number of EPWs that are being picked up are actually complicating the situation in the rear, that just moving so many people back out of Kuwait and into Saudi Arabian camps is a problem. Could you comment on that, and could you also explain to us the facilities that you have and how many potential prisoners you're ready to cope with?
I did not see any problems of bringing back prisoners. I didn't hear about it, and if I don't hear about it, it means that it's doing fine. How many prisoners we can accommodate? There's lots of prisoners. I estimated before that it will be over 100,000. That's why we are prepared for more than 100,000 prisoners of war.
General, I know you can't give us an exact figure, but could you perhaps give us an estimate as to how much Kuwaiti territory has been retaken at this point? What, 10% or half, or whatever you could estimate?
Enough to make our plan successful now.
General, could you tell us whether you have any plans to deal with Saddam Hussein personally after the war? You say it's being left to the Iraqi people. Does that mean that categorically, if he survives this, he will not be tried as a war criminal?
We have no plan except freeing Kuwait, and for Saddam, that's up to the world and his people.
General? So did you expect the Allied forces, did they expect to have 20,000 POWs in the first 2 days?
I expect everything, and I planned for everything.
General, has there been any more indications of any chemical weapons being used by the Iraqis?
No, until now we don't have any evidence of chemical use. Nothing will surprise me.
Chemical mines?
General, is the biggest fight with the Iraqis lie outside of Kuwait?
Sorry, would you repeat again?
Does the biggest fight with the Iraqis lie outside of Kuwait? That is, the strongest forces that Iraq has is outside of Kuwait.
I cannot comment except that we treat the theater of operation that anywhere that there is forces, enemy forces, we can deal with.
Let me restate that. Is the strongest Iraqi force outside of Kuwait?
There is some strong points outside the Kuwaiti border and inside the Iraqi border. General,
can you tell us, please, of the 20,000 or so EPWs or prisoners of war that have been taken so far, are these almost exclusively those lesser quality troops along the border, or are some of them from the mobile reserve as well of the Iraqi army?
I don't think I can judge that right now.
General, can you say whether you said that you might meet more resistance or better troops today and tomorrow? Can you say whether up to now your advance has been slower on the second day than on the first?
No, our advance, our conduct of battles is going exactly according to plan.
So not slower today?
Just according to plan.
General, when I look at your smiley face as a Kuwaiti, it makes me feel very optimistic. Do you have any particular statement to Kuwaiti people?
We will be there soon, very soon.
Thank you.
General, if I could restate an earlier question, how much of a fight do you expect the Republican Guard will put up once they meet Allied troops?
I hope they will surrender, but they will, if they fight, that we are prepared for it.
Well, for example, much has been made in the initial days of the bombing campaign that the Republican Guard were very heavily struck by Allied bombers. How much have they been attrited in the early days of the campaign?
Well, I cannot answer that. Let's wait and see.
General.
Regarding the atrocities in Kuwait, can you tell us, give us some idea of the scale of this? Tell us whether it's just one unit of the Iraqi army or widespread amongst the Iraqi army, and also the war crimes trials you're talking about afterwards. Will those be conducted according to Islamic law?
You mean the criminal war?
Yes.
As I said before, that it's up to the international law, and we will just announce them as criminal war, and then it will be above my echelon how to be treated.
What about the scale of the atrocities, General? The scale of the atrocities in Kuwait? Of the atrocities, the murdering, how many?
How many people?
Are we talking about thousands of people being murdered and raped?
In Kuwait, you
yes.
mean? The only report I heard is a few hundred, but I really cannot pinpoint the number. Two more questions.
Can you tell us, sir, is there combat going on now inside of Kuwait City?
There are combat going everywhere in the theater of operation.
Last question, please. That does include Kuwait City, then, is that right, sir?
Everywhere, sir.
Ground combat in Kuwait City, is that right? Ground combat in Kuwait City.
There is battle everywhere, whether it's from friendly forces or from resistance. Thank you very much.
Will Kuwait City be liberated?
2 hours after this briefing, Marine Brigadier General Richard Neal gave the U.S. military briefing from the Central Command in Riyadh. This was recorded at 10:10 a.m. Eastern Time, which is 6:10 p.m. local time in Saudi Arabia.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. As General Schwarzkopf told you last night, operational security considerations in the early stages of the battle necessarily limit the level of detail in which I will describe what is occurring on the battlefield. Let me first qualify my comments by reminding you that the battlefield is a dynamic and ever-changing place, and that these initial reports are just that, initial reports, and they may change as further details become known to us. In ground operations, we are now into the second day of ground campaign and the 39th day of Operation Desert Storm. We are continuing to attack and continue to achieve tremendous success against the Iraqi forces in the KTO. Our ground forces continue to encounter light to moderate resistance and are currently ahead of schedule in securing their planned objectives. Across the front, coalition forces continue to capture large numbers of enemy prisoners of war, in some cases entire battalions at a time. Marine, Army, French, and Saudi forces have captured more than 18,000 enemy prisoners of war to date. Coalition forces are engaging armor and mech forces with great success. During the late morning and early afternoon today, Marines engaged an armor and mech force destroying 50 to 60 tanks. An Army armor brigade operating with Marine forces engaged another armor mech unit consisting of over 150 vehicles. And initial reports indicate again tremendous success. The fight goes on. Just as I left the war room and came over here, I received another updated report from separate situations that Marine and Army forces have reported the capture of 20 T-62 tanks, 40 APCs, and over 400 EPWs. In another incident, 50 Tu-62 tanks are parked within 4 kilometers of their position, with the Iraqi...
All of America.
America. And at this special time in our history, may God bless those who are serving us halfway around the world. May they be treated with respect and the dignity that they deserve when they come back home, having freed another country. Thank you all, and God bless you.
That concludes the President's remarks from today, and a note that we'll bring you a discussion of the Soviet Union's role in the Middle East War at 5:50 a.m. Eastern Time. The guest at the Overseas Writers Club in Washington today was the first Secretary and Counselor for Middle East Affairs at the Soviet Embassy. Again, that'll air at 5:50 a.m. Eastern Time, 2:50 on the West Coast. In just a moment, a closer look at the Middle East War.
Thursday, Paul Coverdell, Director of the Peace Corps, will be the guest on our morning viewer call-in program. He will discuss the effects of the war in the Middle East on Peace Corps operations around the world. Phone in with your questions and comments. Thursday, beginning at 8 a.m. Eastern, 5 a.m. Pacific Time.
Up next, it's an interview with Army Major Marie Rossi of the 18th Airborne Division serving in the Persian Gulf. She's a helicopter pilot serving with the 101st Airborne in the war, and she's one of the first women resupply pilots to go into Iraq Sunday. Major Rossi is from Oradell, New Jersey, and has been stationed in the Gulf since September of last year. Her job is to resupply tanks, munitions, and food supplies. This video was part of pool material gathered by journalists in Saudi Arabia.
I'm Major Marie Rossi, and I'm the commander of Bravo Company, 2nd of the 159th Aviation Regiment.
And your hometown?
Hometown is Oradell, New Jersey.
Okay, and then just for some background, you're also married to a...
Right, I'm married to a warrant officer, W3, and he's stationed at Hunter Army Airfield also, but right now he's in Saudi with us.
And how long have you been flying helicopters?
I've been flying since 1985.
How long have you been in the Army?
Since 1980.
Why did you come into the Army, and why are you flying helicopters now?
I came into the Army, well, I was in the ROTC because I enjoyed it at first, and then I went to advanced camp and thought it would be okay for a 3-year career. And then as time went on, after 3 years I applied for flight school and got selected for flight school. I thought if I wanted to stay in the Army, being a helicopter pilot would be the thing to do. And it's enjoyable, so that's why I'm still here.
Now this operation is, as an Army officer, as an aviator, what does it mean to you?
Well, probably for any Army officer, I think the opportunity to be a commander at any level, particularly during a war, is a pretty big accomplishment. Not that I had anything to do with it, but just the responsibilities and the tasks that go along with making a company run, making it run successfully, so that you're successful in your mission. It's pretty important for me professionally, and then personally to be able to carry it off.
I mean, you put in a lot of work, a lot of training and whatever. What are the thoughts that you have going through you now as an officer first?
As the commander, I think we're 100% ready to do what we're going to do. The unit, from the time we left Savannah, which was in September, to when we got here now, it's just been working non-stop towards this goal, which is, flying all our aircraft forward on whatever missions the Corps had for us. And, I feel good that my officers and my NCOs have been able to train their people enough so that we could work cohesively as a team. And, for everything from getting the meals out on time because we have a mess section in our company, to fueling the vehicles and the aircraft, and of course maintaining them and flying them. It's just been all well coordinated, and it couldn't have been done without the people wanting to do their job and without their supervisors making sure the jobs were well done.
And as a human being, I mean, now you're in war. You're in...
Yeah, sometimes you have to disassociate how I feel personally about the prospect of going into war and, you know, possibly seeing the death that's going to be there. But personally, as an aviator and as a soldier, this is the moment that everybody trains for, that I've trained for. So, you know, I feel ready to meet a challenge. I don't necessarily personally like it. You know, if I had the opportunity that they called a ceasefire tomorrow, that would be great. You know we can do what we have to do. Just as soon see it not have to be done.
What are the personal feelings going on inside of you now?
Well, I've calmed down. This morning I was kind of tense. You know, woke up kind of excited, wanting to get things rolling now that we're here. I guess it is kind of tension. Don't really feel any sense of danger up ahead. Just it's like a big field problem, and we're gonna kick it off tomorrow.
You're probably going to be the first military woman into Iraq in this war. Certainly one of the first few military women involved in combat. And I'd assume that this could be termed a combat mission, whatever.
I got one in the aircraft in front of me and one behind me.
Okay, well, you will be amongst the first three. How do you feel as a woman now?
I think if you talk to women who are professionally in the military, we see ourselves as soldiers. We don't really put it into perspective as men versus women. And what I'm doing is no greater or no less than the man who's flying next to me or the men that are flying ahead of me. So I don't see it from your perspective. You know, this is just my job, and this is what I'm expected to do, and this is what I trained to do or want to do. So, you know, as a woman, for me, it's not unusual. I imagine for somebody back home who's not in my position, it seems odd.
Well, for me, not as a man, but as an observer of wars. The last time I saw Americans fighting, they were male, all male. You know, there were nurses way in the rear. But now there are women, you know, as you say, doing the same job as men. Maybe, you know, maybe you don't know the difference because you never had to see the other side of it. But I mean, you honestly don't have any feelings as a woman.
I don't know how to say. I can't tell you what I feel as a woman as opposed to what a man would feel going into the same situation. And you saw me talking out there to my friend that I came in the Army with, and she's a battalion operations officer that helped plan this whole, you know, operation that you see going on here. And she and I were talking, and it's our jobs. You know, there was nothing peculiar about us being women. We were just the people called upon to do it.
But I mean, there's no sense of accomplishment or achievement as women, or have, since you've started as a professional, I guess you haven't seen what women were before.
That may be it. When I came in the Army in 1980, we were integrated then. I'm proud of what I'm doing because I know there are a lot of other women not in the military who couldn't do what I'm doing, and particularly women who are not in the military. I know they're not up to doing what me and the others are going to fly tomorrow. I'm proud of myself, but I don't know that it's particularly the fact that I'm female or not.
When did you find out that you were going to be flying this mission?
Maybe about a week ago.
About a week. What's been going on inside of you since, or what happened there? What was the first night of knowing?
Well, I live in my tent is with my other two female officers, so we kind of we thought it was pretty neat that 3 women were going to be across the border before the rest of the battalion was. It's initially excitement that it was going to kick off and that we were going to be part of the first assault going over. I think there's some nerves, you know, in talking with them this morning, there's nervous feelings about going across, but mostly it's just readiness to go do it.
And now has it become, is it long enough now that it's just another mission, or?
Oh, no. No, this is definitely, come tomorrow morning, I might be a whole lot more nervous, but it's definitely not another mission. But it's a mission that I feel ready to do.
Let me preface this by saying there's still a lot of things that are confusing here. I went over and talked to the 101st, and some of the things that they put out or had been given information on is apparently old information, and they do not have, for example, the new SP1 correct coordinates on that. So they're trying to get with the 5 of the 101 guys, and if we see the 5 of the 101 guys, then we need to get together with them and get the exact location, which is the real SP1. But they're still showing the old SP1, we're showing the new SP1. So there's some confusion there. Also, they've got some different headings, and they've got some time discrepancies on their grid, their execution matrix. What I've done is gone through the execution matrix that they have, and I'll run the flight according to the execution matrix that they had for their times. So let me go ahead and start with that as far as our time schedule for tomorrow morning. MIKE, and we're going to be pulling pitch here at H plus 20. H plus 20 equates to 620. It just so happens to be that H hour is going to be 0600. So all the times I give to you, you can go ahead and equate that, add 6 hours to it, and that's going to be the clock time that we have.
Jim, is there a chance that they're going to move that back an hour or 2 or 3 or 4 hours due to weather? Or is it going to be a
Sir, I'd say that there's always that chance, but I have not been informed of that as of yet. Our next event will happen at H plus 55, and that's arrival RP1. Our next event will be H plus 12, and that will be at SP2. Our next event is H 1 hour and 57 minutes, and that will be at the RRP, and we're mission complete at that time.
Jumping on this too. Oh, you stopped gauges?
Yeah, it's the gauge.
Yeah, no movement too. And 1 looks good. Turning 2.
Yeah, radio 2. Silver elements overlaid.
Saudi Arabia is coverage of a military tour by the 101st Airborne Division stationed 90 miles inside the border of Iraq. These troops are on the front line and were some of the first to go into Iraq Sunday when the ground war began in the Middle East. Their mission was to launch an assault with helicopters, ground troops, and military convoys sweeping across the border into Iraq. They say they never saw Iraqi forces when they entered the country.
We flew out here quite a ways. I didn't see any Iraqis. Where are they?
I don't know. You'll have to ask somebody in intelligence. I didn't see any either.
Well, I mean, this is incredible. You're deep within inside Iraqi territory, and I can't see them anywhere.
Well, I'm sure they're somewhere. I'm sure they'll peek their heads out someday, but I don't know when. But we'll be ready for them when we do.
How do you feel now that you're in Iraq?
Ready to get it on and get on home.
What are you doing here?
Well, we've occupied this area. That's about all I can say.
Looks like a heck of a dismal area to occupy.
Yeah, it looks about the same as Saudi Arabia to me, but, you know.
You're deep within Iraq. You guys could make a strike on Baghdad in just a little while. You think they've got anybody to fight you?
I'm not even going to speculate the outcome of further operations or their planning. I don't know that much about it.
Have you heard anything of other units of yours coming into contact with the Iraqis?
You'll have to ask someone higher. I only know about my platoon, and that's about all I really want to talk about.
What's your mission here?
To stop Saddam Hussein's aggression, and now to liberate Kuwait. That's our mission.
Plug this thing in real quick.
I'm with the 2nd of the 229th Aviation Regiment Flying Tigers, based out of Fort Rucker, Alabama. We're attached to the 101st. We're a AH-64 Apache Attack Helicopter Battalion. Be sure if you get anything, it's 229th Aviation Flying Tigers.
Got it, okay. We got it. Well, could you just tell them what you've been doing this morning?
This morning we were delayed in our departure for what reasons I don't know, but we arrived on station here, and when we were approximately 10 kilometers out, we received a radio call that there was enemy contact, and it was taking place approximately 400 meters from this position we're at now. We decided that we would continue on with the mission, landed our aircraft, myself and another officer departed, assessed the ground situation, and the aircraft broke station. We were going to wait until the rest of our elements arrived, but some more radio traffic indicated that the forces on the ground may not be able to handle the situation at the time, and they flew back in and pulled us out. We returned for fuel and then came back here on station.
So how much opposition were you facing?
The initial opposition were the friendly or the EPAC forces, U.S. Mostly comprised the forces. They were engaged with small infantry elements off in that sector off over there, dug into the bunker area.
Have those been taken care of?
To my knowledge, the elements have been neutralized, and as you can tell, based on the tactical situation here, our elements are well forward in front of us at this time.
I understand you received
received some artillery fire?
Yes, there's been sporadic artillery fire out here. The best thing we can do right now is just dig the soldiers in and await counter battery fire from our artillery elements or our close air support elements and attack helicopters
Will you be
to take them out.
Will you be set up by tonight to send Apaches out on mission?
Sir, we've got Apaches that are up and flying right now.
During the daytime?
Affirmative, along with Cobra attack helicopters and combat support lift elements. But we'll be operational here in about 15 minutes.
How did you get here?
We came in via UH-60 Blackhawk.
So you were flown in here, and then tell me what went on. You said you got here and found out you didn't have enough here to counter the enemy. I mean,
well,
what was going on? Was artillery dropping beside you?
We came in very light, and as we were landing, there was sporadic automatic weapons fire going on all around us. And you could see artillery impacting in the distance within a 2 to 3 kilometer area. We didn't want to keep the aircraft on site and subject that to enemy fires. Myself and another soldier punched out of the airplane and waited until our lift elements arrived and additional security forces.
Well, what happened to those that were firing at you? Did the Iraqis just turn tail and run?
It's my assessment that they were engaging us, and then once we began to fire on them, they began to fall back.
Seen any guys turning themselves in?
No, I haven't. I got involved with that the other day.
Well, what do you think of your new home?
Do you have any suntan lotion? I'm ready to move up to Euphrates and get this thing over with.
You're pretty far in already.
Oh, we're well deep within the enemy sector, but we're prepared to go further north if need be.
Okay, once this refueling stops, is that what it's called, the refueling?
This is called a forward area arming and refueling point.
Okay, once this is set up, is this it until you hit the Euphrates, or do you guys move up tomorrow?
We move forward based on the mission, and I'm not available. I can't discuss that. Sure. But there are follow-on missions which will move us from this site, yes.
What's the big thing around your shoulder?
This is an AT-4 anti-tank rocket.
You think you'll be using
tanks
it?
around here?
Well, I tell you what, gentlemen, in view of the fact that we had enemy elements within 400 meters of us here, and we have a high-speed avenue approach behind me, a road, the Iraqis could very easily move armored elements on this location within just a few moments, and we need to be prepared to contend with those forces.
Sir, with all respect, it doesn't look like there's a darn place to hide out here.
There's no place to hide. That's why I just gave the order to my guys to dig in. Of course, they dig in anyways, but they need to dig deep and dig fast.
Name?
Sergeant Richard C. Hubbard.
H-U-B-B-A-R-D, and you're from where?
Tennessee, sir. 101st Pathfinder Detachment.
What town in Tennessee?
Etowah, Tennessee, sir. Etowah, Tennessee, E-T-O-W-A-H.
What are you doing here?
I'm a Pathfinder here, sir. We're bringing
I don't know what
in,
that means.
What we're doing, we were the first ones to come in, and we're laying in a FARP, which is a forward area refueling point for the aircraft that are going to be working generally this location.
Now, this is just the first day of the war, and you're already putting in a big rearmament and refueling area deep inside the enemy territory?
How big? I believe it's going to be a jump element, and how long it's going to be here, I'm not sure, sir.
What have you seen since you've been on the ground? Taken any artillery?
Not directly in this area. We were delayed coming into this location because they said it was a little hot, and then directly to about a 310, mainly northwest, there's been some activity, and aircraft have been taking it down.
What do you and your men think of your new home?
About the same as Saudi Arabia. We hope we're not here long, though.
This is the first step on the way home?
Hopefully, if we make it all through here, okay. Hopefully, we'll liberate Kuwait like we came in to do, and whatever our leaders tell us to do, and go home.
Are you surprised that right at the beginning you've come so deep into Iraq?
Not really. We've heard a lot of rumors since we've been here, and we're doing pretty much what rumor control says.
What does rumor control say?
That we would come in to Kuwait and Iraq and liberate Kuwait and go home. Do what we came over to do.
Do you know when the engineers were up here? We saw some bulldozer marks making fire sites and...
No, no, sir. I don't know
okay.
when.
What's the mission of Pathfinder? Well, are you the first one in?
That's our unit motto is first in, last out. Normally what we do, we go in early to give terminal guidance to aircraft operating in the location. And also to mark areas for drops or otherwise.
Okay. So you're the guys that set it up to receive the
Correct,
aircraft?
Yes, sir.
Or jumpers, as the case may be.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thanks a lot.
All right, thank you.
Great.
Thank you, sir.
Digging in Iraq. Let me go to you first. When did you get here?
August 22nd.
Now, when did you get here?
Oh, here? I just got here today.
You're in Iraq. How does it feel?
Feels pretty good. It's about time.
But you're deep within Iraq, and this is all the protection you got.
That's what we need. We got 64 here. We're good to go.
64 Apaches?
Right.
How tough is it to dig in here?
It's easier than it was back in Saudi Arabia. It was a pretty good place here.
Aren't you amazed? You were this far, you're halfway to the Euphrates River on the first day.
Oh, well. It's pretty cool.
Where's the enemy?
I don't know. That way.
Okay, let me move on to you, okay? You say when you're ready. Sort of the same question. Is this going to be enough to protect you? Iraq's supposed to have 500,000 men.
Yeah. It's been enough because we got the 64s here and the 810s.
Aren't you amazed you could move so fast and so quick?
No.
Why not?
We're prepared for it. You ready?
Okay, with all due respect, this doesn't look like much of a home to me.
It'll do for a few days.
That's all it's going to take?
Yes.
Guys. Mike.
The 1st Marine Division's Task Force Ripper was the first unit to cross the border into Kuwait Saturday night. This pool footage was recorded on Sunday when, in the first hours of their drive into Kuwait, the Ripper's artillery battery paused to set up their 155 howitzers to shell the defensive line a few miles to the north.
They got 4-person carry.
Let's go, man. I'm just putting it. These Mike, all right? I'm gonna head to the hospital in 5 minutes. No, you ain't.
No, you're not. We got you. We got you, buddy. We're just taking you down. We got you. You're okay. We got you. Easy, gentlemen. Okay. You're all right.
Okay, you're down.
Okay, we got you even. Hang in there. Come on, we got you. We got you.
Relax.
Yeah. Stand up, brother. We got you. We got you. Remember, you're our hero, okay?
You're upset.
Yeah, you know how it is. You're a celebrity. I think your mother's going to think quite a few things. Hey, you chill out. We got you. We got you. We got you. Yeah, we'll get that chance.
Now, nice level. All right, now I want you to keep your elbows in for the best you can, okay? Mike, I got it. You got it? Yep, I got it. Hang it right there. I got it. I got it. All right, let me in, guys, so you can walk.
What's the forward? Okay, we got you. We got you.
This is Lieutenant Commander Dr. Al A.L. Griggs, Griggs. He's the officer in charge of the clearing company in this unit, and that's the company where all the soldiers were brought from the plane, stabilized before they were put on the buses or helicopters and moved out. Dr. Griggs, tell me what this clearing company does. What's the function of the clearing company?
Well, our entire function is to receive casualties from the further up in the theater. When they arrive here is to offload the airplanes, stabilize them, triage them, and transport them to the nearby hospitals. Essentially a bus stop.
Well, talk to me a little bit more about that. For people who aren't familiar with medical system for triage, tell me a little more about that bus stop idea. What the sort of, in a very general way, what the function is of this tent, this clearing company.
This tent is what we've designed as our primary triage tent, essentially sorting. When we receive the casualties off the aircraft and they're put in here, we quickly assess what condition they're in and what type of transport they would require to go to the hospitals. We have the assets, we have our helicopters, ambulances, and large buses that have been changed to be able to take the stretchers. We have 2 helicopters right now, a number of ambulances, and about 8 buses at our disposal. Yeah.
Why not simply just bring these patients from the front directly to hospitals? What use does this serve to bring them through here?
Well, for one reason, when they come from the front, often they're not what we call regulated, and the condition of the patient can change rapidly. The aircraft may have been like this one, was delayed like 6 hours. Patients that were stable when they left may not be stable once they arrive. Our job here is to prioritize the priority of need for surgical procedures and care. What we primarily do is to basically stabilize and transport as rapidly as possible in the appropriate transport. Yeah.
Day 2 of the ground war. Talk to me a little bit about how things are working for your clearing company.
Well, we quickly organized this thing just a couple of days ago. And with it's been a new thing that's never really been done before between the Air Force and the Navy. And we've worked in conjunction to develop it and get it running. Seems to be working well. We've had 3 transports so far with essentially stable casualties. So it's working now with stable casualties. We've not tested it with unstable ones yet.
In terms that somebody not familiar with the military would understand, what's new here? What's being done here that hasn't been done before?
Well, normally the Air Force has a job of transporting people through what's called their MAC system. What has been designed here is that we work in conjunction with them to receive casualties. That has never essentially been worked out in a system before. They are primarily designed to receive people, but only for transportation out of theater. What we're doing here is, with their help and in a concerted effort, is to receive the casualties and triage them to the right places.
So tell me, who brings what to the game? What are you each bringing?
Both bringing material assets and personal assets about the same. On each of our triage teams, we have half of the teams are Air Force, nurses and hospital corpsmen and physicians, and the other half is Navy nurses, physicians, and hospital corpsmen.
Well, what's the advantage of working together? What's the advantage of having the two arrive for the medical system by having this sort of cooperation between the two services?
Well, I think the advantage to it has been kind of self-explanatory. The Air Force certainly knows what they're doing when they transport people by air, and we know what our assets are at the hospital. And combining those two things together, we make a solution to get people essentially moved, which is our job, and safely, and with people that know how to move aircraft around and how to move those assets where they should be at a certain point in time, and then our assets of knowing where the hospitals are, what their assets are, and what they're capable of, and to move them into position when we get the casualties.
So how would you describe it? Is it sort of sharing? I mean, how would you describe that sort of working together?
Well, it's definitely been a sharing. It's been absolutely wonderful experience for all of us, because we've been able to work closely, and we've all here to do a job, and the effort has just been amazing, just absolutely amazing.
Last question: what does that mean? What does that mean as far as the soldiers' health and recovery and recuperation?
Well, I think the soldiers that have come through here have seen that our efforts are for them, and that's what we're here for, to make sure they get taken care of as rapidly and in the best manner and method we know how.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Sorry, do you mind if we're just going to get your discussion?
No, go ahead.
Okay.
No, it's nothing top secret. Okay. We're just talking about some of the things that we learned during this.
Just ignore us.
Okay. So, a ramp may be helpful if we have to take like 2 people out to the helicopter from the back. Right. We need a good stable walkway for those litter bearers to get out.
Can we still get one of those ramps?
Yes, sir. We'll get one for each doorway.
All right, let's put a ramp.
We're also going to put an ECU unit in that tent in the back supply tent. So our saving solution, our solution is going to crystallize.
Okay, let's get a ramp for each one. Get a ramp from there. If you have to take people out the back, we can't have them tripping over them.
Are we going to be able to use the side doorways?
Well, the problem with using the side doors is that we shut down the number of stretchers we can get in here.
Are we going to cut it down to 20, sir? 20, 40, 60.
Dr. Hayes?
That's not so bad. I mean, the 20 in here is not a a low number, I think, or too low a number. We can handle 20 in here.
20 is probably a better number.
If they are the most critical.
When you think of it.
Yeah, and the other thing is we've got to think about some lighting on this side if we're going to be taking them out that way to the helicopter.
We're addressing the lighting problem as we speak, but we could open up this end, and if we had an overflow problem, we could take twos. We could make ones into twos and take them over, and we have the lighting for that area already, and it's closer to the helicopter, to the pad.
Not yet. No, we haven't.
Work on something.
Working with, you guys got lights, people? Airports have lights?
If I have to, I will use lights to work at stand lights.
Rumor has it that if the guys from CNN could get us down to...
CNN have lights? CNN could get you lights?
Could get us a case of...
We should be able to get the lights. I don't think that'll be a problem.
I'm working on some more lights.
Yeah, I don't think it'll be a problem.
It's top secret. If I tell you, I got to kill you.
All the way around.
Well, if we're taking it back, it's dark up here. We got to have... Can't have them stumbling around in the dark. Right.
But you know, if we set up this place the way that we want to load it right now, we shouldn't have to worry about that. We can still take them out this door.
This is Dr. and Commander Arthur, A-R-T-H-U-R, Hayes, H-A-Y-E-S, a reservist who is in charge of triage with the sorting process here in the clearing company. Doctor, tell me what it was you were doing today for the casualties that came in.
Well, on receipt of the casualties from the aircraft, we sorted them into our tent here, which you can see around us, and reassessed their medical condition. Each one of them was gone over by either one of the nurses or myself, and then reconfirmed their classification as to how sick they were and where they needed to go for their next stage of treatment.
And we saw a lot of these guys were already patched up. They had bandages. Obviously, they received care. Why do they need to go through this again?
They were receiving their initial care in the forward hospital system, battle age stations and Echelon 2 hospitals, where emergency care was rendered, and they've done a great job of stabilizing these people. They all need a little bit more care. None of them will be able to go back to work in their primary jobs for at least a week. None of these people will be going back to work. They need to be in a hospital system. They have their wounds further cared for to stabilize them and possibly be transferred back to the States.
Were you happy with the amount of time? Apparently it took 3-4 hours to get them here from the front. Would you have liked to have seen them sooner? Were you happy? Talk to me a little about the time it took to get here.
Right. The timing would have been much more critical had this been their first stop. Fortunately, they were in another healthcare facility forward of us. The delay was for unknown reasons with the aircraft, and it probably did not impact on their medical care because they had already received primary stabilization.
See anything today or yesterday that's surprising you?
The thing that I'm most surprised with is the lightness of the casualties. We're not seeing many and not seeing many serious casualties.
Tell me a little bit about where you were a few months ago and what you do in civilian life and how that's helping you here right now.
Well, in civilian life, I run an emergency department in a town by the name of Norristown in Pennsylvania. And in that situation, we see all sorts of patients with colds up to heart attacks, heart conditions of all sorts, a lot of car accidents with serious injuries, but nothing like the battlefield injury.
What in civilian life, anything in civilian, your role as a civilian doctor prepare you for this?
Well, my role as a civilian physician, as an emergency physician, board prepared, board certified, this is what I'm here to do. I've been taught how to do all this. I haven't been experiencing this sort of situation ever in the past, but this is what we're taught to do.
Raid. Yeah, we got air raid. Air raid.
Air raid, start raid.
Air raid. While I'm doing this, should we get the mask? Get them down the mask.
Remember, head towards the aisle, guys. Head in the aisle.
Doctor, right? On the right? The left?
Watch the strings in the here. All right.
Rock.
Head in the eye. Some guys watching still living.
Art, whenever you're ready, I'll call up the ambulance.
Here, buddy.
What do you got left for capability?
We can hold 18 on a bus.
Okay. We keep growing. It's like rabbits, you know. We multiply. The last three are the most important.
Okay, we've got 6 on here right now.
Okay.
So these last
three are the most important.
Is your last three right here? Okay.
Like I said, these other ones, they can come off the way it's easiest for you. But I want these 3 to be the first 3 off. Okay?
Is this guy coming on right now? Please. Okay, you have someone who'll show you the way. Yeah, I can take it. Then we need. He's got a hair traction spot. I'll already explain. He's got a pulley on this side too. Someone down there. Let's on the right side. Hey, somebody's got to get the bag. Okay, I got it. Got hair traction. Slowly, no rush. It's taking 30 minutes just to get in. Clear.
Yeah, well, I'm saying if you want, I'll ask you. Come in there.
The 1st Marine Division's Task Force Ripper was the first unit to cross the border into Kuwait Saturday night. This pool footage was recorded on Sunday when, in the first hours of their drive into Kuwait, the Ripper's artillery battery paused to set up their 155 howitzers to shell the defensive line a few miles to the north.
Grab the line on the front of the camera, drop the 60 and give it a 7 to 1-8. Hey, give me a rifle.
Jump in there?
Tom, go.
Gotta be done though. Yeah.
Okay.
C-SPAN, the cable satellite public affairs network, and its companion network, C-SPAN 2, are brought to you as a public service of the cable television industry.
Next is a military briefing given today by French officials at the site of the Allied Central Command in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. Brigadier General Daniel Gazot makes brief comments to the press, and just after that we'll bring you the British briefing held today in Riyadh with Commander John Tighe of the British Royal Navy and Colonel Barry Stevens of the British Royal Army. These briefings were recorded at 11 and 11:30 a.m. Eastern Time, which is 7 and 7:30 p.m. local time in Saudi Arabia.
The French division Daguet, supported and accompanied by American units, thanks to its hard-hitting and precise maneuver, has seized late this afternoon the series of objectives which were assigned to it and whose capture was indispensable to the entire maneuver of the coalition forces. The rapidity and precision shown in the execution of its mission were the result of the determination of our soldiers, the complete cooperation between branches, armed services, and among allied forces. The professional
water, victuals and second-line maintenance that are needed to keep the MCMVs operational in the hostile environment in which they operate. Now, clearly these small ships need some protection against the surface, air and missile threats. But to some degree, so do the larger ships. And this is exactly what HMS Gloucester was doing in the early hours of this morning. She was riding what is known as shotgun on the battleship Missouri, when just before 5 o'clock this morning, an alert radar man in the operations room of Gloucester spotted a small, fast-moving contact leaving the Kuwaiti coast. This contact was quickly evaluated by the on-watch personnel, who established that it was an enemy missile, and the ship's Sea Dart missile system was given the order to engage. Gloucester's Type 909 radar locked on, and within 50 seconds of the initial detection, a salvo of 2 Sea Dart missiles had been fired. One missile scored a direct hit at a range of 4 miles, whilst the other is assessed to have flown through the debris. Subsequent analysis shows that the enemy missile was most likely to have been a silkworm, and that in fact 2 missiles had been fired, but that the second missile had ditched shortly after launch. Whilst it can only be conjecture as to exactly who was the target, clearly the 500 kilograms of warhead inside the silkworm could well have caused considerable, if not fatal damage, to its target. And there's certainly one ship out there